What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York here at Aftershock Festival 2022, and we're here with Karan of the almighty Bloodywood. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure, man.
It's so awesome to have you here. You are killing it right now. First U.S. tour. Your latest album is Rakshak. Was there sort of like a preconceived vision of what you wanted this album to sound like, or was it a very experimental process?
Well, we kind of stumbled upon our sound, the Indian sound where we've got the Indian rhythms and the percussions and the melodies going on. We wanted to maintain that throughout the album, but as we were composing, probably 7 songs into the album, we were like, okay, we got to experiment some more. So I'd say it's kind of a mixture between something that's preconceived and something that's experimental.
I've always said, I see so many elements within just Rakshak alone. Is it fair to say that a lot of people in Bloodywood do have multiple influences as well within heavy metal?
Yes and no. That's a tough one to answer. So, because the songwriting's basically just between the 3 of us, me and the 2 vocalists. So it's confined to our kind of influences. But, we have common ground in the new metal scene and, somewhat in the punk and, the hardcore scenario in general. And plus, when it comes to Indian music, it's infused in all 3 of us.
Yeah.
So you'd rarely find us at odds when it comes to tastes and preferences when it comes to the music.
You guys reminded me a lot actually of El Nino in a way, but instead of the Spanish influences, it has the Indian infused influences, and they're both very emotional. I sense a lot of emotion within Bloodywood's music.
Yes, that is true.
Being the guitarist of the band, has there ever been a time though where a lyrical idea or subject matter could help guide your hand with regards to the songwriting in a way?
Yeah, so that's actually a very interesting question. So our songwriting process, we first, I come up with a riff or a melody that sounds really good to me, and then we sit together and we decide what kind of emotions this thing is kind of, projecting on us. And then we decide on one particular topic, and that makes it easier for me to write the rest of the songs. So yes, themes definitely are a huge thing in this band, and that's how the music's also driven.
Could Bloodywood's music also be open to interpretation, or are you trying to inform the listener as much as engage them in the music?
No, so we don't really talk about abstract stuff. We're very direct with our music and our lyrics. So there's not a lot open to interpretation, and we'd like to keep it that way because we feel that there's a lot to be said when it comes to music in general. That's left unsaid, and we like to be very direct about things.
Well, there is one abstract element I see, and going back to what I said, emotional. When I hear the guitar riffing and soloing in Bloodywood, is that at all reflective of an emotion that you were feeling at a particular time?
Absolutely. Every single thing on the album that you hear, every single instrument, every single melody is based off a particular emotion, the emotion that serves that particular song. So, for example, if you listen to G Vire, everything is kind of melancholic but also very hopeful. And if you listen to Danadan, everything's everything's super aggressive. So I mean, music's always open to interpretation to a certain degree, but it's not open to a lot of interpretation from our side because we like to keep it very direct.
Yeah, I would say so as well. The music is real in itself. And do you feel like, I've even said that even if the music was instrumental only, not to discredit the vocalist, but I almost feel like the music would be just as good at conveying the message as the lyrics do as well.
Thank you.
But when you work on a song for a long period of time, sometimes you're working on a song for days, weeks, if you're Tool, 13 years, do you find it the longer you're working on something, the harder it is to sort of maintain that emotion that sparked that idea?
I'd say that if things are getting tougher, you're getting closer to your goal. So there are almost every song in this album was almost entirely dropped, but we kept at it, and we don't really believe in there's this saying that if you can't make a song in a week, don't make it at all. Something on that lines. We don't believe in that. The songs on this album, they took months to make, and they took a lot of coming back to the songs and not giving up on them. So yeah, we really like to finish things once we start them.
When is it easier to come up with ideas when you're the accompany of each other, or isolation being such a great fuel for creativity, you might find it easier to come up with riffs and ideas when there's nothing between you and your instrument?
Right. So I'd say both. When it comes to the structure and the instrumental and the songwriting, I love to work in isolation. That's the only way I can work. I can't even work if there's someone else in the room. But when it comes to lyrics, we like to sit together, and vocals in general. We generally get together and work on them together as a team.
That's a really beautiful way of putting it. And do you? And I'd imagine when it comes to that, especially since Bloodywood has multiple vocalists and you also contribute, do all of you need to kind of be in the same headspace when writing those lyrics in order to make the song sound consistent?
Yes. That's actually a very good point. We do focus a lot on the current headspace that we're in, and we have to always get back into that headspace whenever we're working on something else and bouncing back to the previous track. So that's why it takes us so long to write music. But
well, it's always worth the wait. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And being that the Indian culture is such an influence on your music, is there a lot of research that's almost involved? Is there a lot of observation that kind of plays a role into the lyricism as well?
I would say there's a lot of research involved in the themes of our song. For example, when it comes to G Veere, the song about depression, we did not want to say anything that you shouldn't say to someone who's going through depression. So, we do research a lot when it comes to the themes, but not, in a way that's research upon lyrics also.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview?
Hit me.
How do you know when a song is done?
When you're out of time. Yeah.
That was good. That was good. Do you want to keep going or just stop it right there? No. Stop it right there. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Okay. Yeah. So, unfortunately, with the way the business runs today, everything is at a deadline. So, and there's one thing that our manager Rob told me that's always stuck with me, that the best art is when it's abandoned. When you stop focusing on the nitty-gritties. So I think yeah. So when we're out of time, we know that all right, this is the best we could do.
And there was one question about the lyrics I did forget, but does your personal life or your personal experiences, because everybody is still their own person, we all have our own trials and tribulations, does that at all come into the subject matter as well, or do you look at music as a pure escapism?
Oh, no. We only write about things that we personally feel about. So all the songs, each and every one from the album, all of us have had some sort of experience with that particular topic that we're talking about in that, or know someone who's gone through something like that. So every song is very, very near and dear to us because we're very emotionally connected to those topics.
100%. Yeah. And the final, I have two more questions for you, but when it comes to playing live, is there at all a similar energy that you put into your live presence as you do when you're songwriting? And when you bring these songs live, do you think that adds another layer of context to the music as well?
We try to justify the energy of the studio version with the live versions. Yes, I'd say there's definitely a correlation between them. And from the feedback that we're getting, some people prefer us live than listening to our studio album. So that's a huge plus in itself. But yeah, we're always trying to match that level that that's been set through the studio album. When it comes to the stage.
Yeah, I've always said that even though that Rakshak is not a live album, so to speak, it feels like a live album because of the energy that's incorporated in there.
Thank you.
But with that energy that you put on stage, especially with the visual attire as well, the studio is a more confined, more static environment and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you able to almost fully express yourself in the studio as you do on stage?
Wow, you've got some really tough questions for me.
Yes, sorry.
No, but that's also very interesting. Yes, just because we have to be absolutely in the moment to make decisions about the song, we're always very expressive about the music in the studio as we are on stage. I think I don't think we have a lot of BTS from the recording sessions, but that studio used to get really hot, with all the sweat and all of the hormones raging inside it. So yeah, I'd say.
You know what? If the studio intentionally pisses you off, there's no better way to make a metal album, right?
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is heavy metal in India? You know, I heard there actually is a thriving metal scene that's out there, and being that India is such a massively large country, is it like different scenes in different cities in a way? How has the scene sort of been in India?
Well, the cities would like to believe that they've got a different scene, but everyone's the same. Yeah. I'm talking to you, Mumbai and Bangalore. I mean, when it comes to metal, everyone's the same. I wouldn't say it's a very thriving scene, but it is a very stubborn scene. It's not going anywhere soon, and it's only growing. So we're very happy to be where we are.
Yeah, there's. I feel like it's almost like sort of like simmering in a way. I think what you all need to do a festival in Mount Everest, though.
Oh wow, that'd be something.
Yeah.
But it's going to be difficult playing the guitar in that temperature. But we'll figure it out.
Just wear gloves.
Yeah.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
My
Such
pleasure.
a great conversation. Is there just anything else with Bloodywood that you would like to promote in terms of tours, or maybe even a soon-to-be follow-up to Rakshak, if you're allowed to say, of course?
Oh yeah. We are actually itching to go back into the studio and write some new music. There's so many great ideas we have. For now, we've got just 3 shows left in the US, and then we're gonna go back to Europe and UK in March and June, and hopefully back to the US in May again.
We hope to see you again soon. And not only thank you for your music, but thank you for bringing it to the States and coming here.
Our pleasure. Thank you so
welcome
much.
to America.
Thank you.
Everybody, we are here with Bloodywood, the Rakshak. Be sure to pick that up. If you haven't already, we'll see you next time on Heavy New York, Aftershock 2022.